People need to eat. Business need to flourish. But it must be done in a sustainable manner.
Welcome back to Moose on Loose. In today's top story, we got Jagmeet saying welcoming asylum seekers, if there are some, coming from America. Chrystia Freeland short-circuiting, talking to reporters, as well as Karina Gould telling us a March election might not be the best idea for Canada. Let's jump into this. We got a clip here of Chrystia Freeland completely short-circuiting. Screw goes loose, and she just can't handle the questions coming in.
Freeland, why is most of the cabinet lining up behind your rival instead of you?
Thank you for the question, and I'm really glad to be here today to be meeting with my caucus colleagues. I am so grateful to the colleagues who have been supporting me. I want to highlight, I'm especially grateful to the people who bring the caucus together, do the hard work in our caucus, the workhorses of our caucus. And for me, a huge emphasis is going to be reviving the party, reviving the grassroots of the party.
Yeah, there's no grassroots. The roots are done. The soil is done. You guys are done.
Reviving a real democratization process in the party. We can never again be in a position where the leader is the only person who decides who the leader is. And I think Liberal Party grassroots.
Wow, that's really coming out and saying something, isn't it? I mean, it's true. But she's really revolting against Trudeau.
Its members and caucus need to have a greater say in what we do and how we do it.
This is true. This needs to be re-implemented back into the Liberal Party. This should be in every party. You shouldn't have this authoritarian power by one leader. Like Justin Trudeau knew this, and he's been milking the system, living this lavish life on our backs, having fancy caviar and beef Wellington flying over to Australia and all this other crap that he's been doing, wasting our money. After she finishes speaking in French here, check this out.
Tous, c'est une grande priorité.
You think the party establishment is blind?
She looks like she's trying to push out a big one. What is going on? If you can't handle some questions from reporters.
Okay, c'est difficile d'entendre parce que tout le monde crie. Okay, alors.
Get her to the toilet ASAP.
Okay.
This is the most bizarre thing ever. She just gets overwhelmed by all these people asking questions. She's not fit to be a leader. She's not fit for any of the jobs she's had in Parliament, period. Next up, we've got this buffoon. Jagmeet Singh says the NDP wants to review a Canadian law which disallows people traveling from America and claiming asylum in Canada due to the really scary attitude towards illegal immigration of the Trump administration. This wingnut is on camera saying this.
Should Canada amend the Safe Third Country Agreement for trans Americans who come to our borders seeking refuge?
On that note, I think it's really sad for the folks in the States right now that heard the president basically say that they don't exist or that their reality or their identity is no longer recognized. It's really scary for a lot of folks.
This whole situation is goofy. Even if someone identifies as non-binary or butch or whatever, all those made up genders, they're not in harm's way. They're not going to be attacked by their government. They're not coming to round them up. People can live in whatever delusional world they want to live in. If they want to identify as Draco the Dragon from Dragonheart from 1996, they can do that. Just don't push it on other people because that's made up nonsense. There's no butch gender or any of these other drag queen, drag king. Those are not genders. Male, female. If someone's trans, they switch male to female. They're still male or female. They identify as male or female. I get it. Some people, they feel more male than female. They get a mixture of two or whatever. You can live like that. By all means, nobody cares. Just stop pushing this on all of us. Biology is the be-all, end-all in this situation. And people who identify as something else in America are not at risk.
Acknowledge how scary that must be for people who heard that, now feel really alone, who feel really afraid. I think what Canada's always done is shown as a country that we are there for people when they're in their times of need. It's something that's been a point of pride of Canada. So looking at the third country, that agreement and how we can amend it, it's been something that we've been considering for a while. We've raised concerns about the agreement for a while. And so it's something we'll look at.
Jagmeet is a weak man. Or maybe I shouldn't assume his gender. Maybe he's butch. The fact that the media and some Canadians actually attempt to take this man seriously is a massive problem. Another insane one, we're surrounded by crazy politicians. Yeah, that's a very loud, resounding no. Canada is not the destination for Americans or illegals to land. Why does Jagmeet want to pretend like he has some sort of political authority on anything at all? Next up, we have Karina Gould answering questions out in the snow. She's not a real candidate. Well, we'll talk about this. This one here, she's asked about Donald Trump and how she'd be able to take him on.
Why do you think that you can face Donald Trump, they can head on and fight with Canada and get a win against Donald Trump?
So the question's pretty faint, but he asks, why do you think you can take on Donald Trump? Why do you think you can get a win against him?
Because I face bullies in the House of Commons every single day, stand up to them and win. So I know how to stand up for Canadians. I know how to build a team that can do that. And I'm not afraid of a challenge.
When has she ever won in the House of Commons? Mr. Speaker, we want to refer the documents for further study. Is she for real or is this just a bad joke? Which barking puppet spews the WFBS in Canada? They're all on the payroll. None of them give flying Fs about Canada or Canadians. They all want us hungry, tired, cold, and afraid of our neighbors. 77% of Canadians want election now. There you go. This comment summed it up. Liberal Party leadership candidate Karina Gould declares that young people will vote for her because she will listen and represent their voices. Once again, she's not a serious candidate. Let's just take a look at another clip here. We've got this one posted by Mark Nixon here. It says, if she's elected prime minister, she does not want an election in March.
You would call for an election right away.
Do you want to call for an election right away was the question.
I think it's a little too early to determine that. I think we have to understand where we are. Look, we are facing a potential trade war with the United States. And I think we have to know where we are on March 9th, where the country is, to decide where we need to go. Because at the end of the day, whatever decision a future prime minister makes needs to have the best interests of Canadians at heart. And if we are in an extremely difficult position with the United States, having a
If we're already in that position, call an election, you gremlins.
Election might not be the best thing to do at that time, but I think we have
77% of Canadians want this election now. This is criminal what you guys are doing against us.
to see where we are on March 9th.
Just a terrible human being. She already knows it's happening. So Karina Gould is a stalking horse. She's being planted there by the Carney team, by Trudeau. They're all on one side. The camp is being split. If you're looking at Freeland and Carney, you're getting a lot of the backbenchers supporting Freeland and a lot of the ministers supporting Carney, because Carney will then pick his team and the ministers want to keep those high-paying jobs. The backbenchers, it doesn't make any difference, and they have more loyalty to Chrystia Freeland. So Carney will get in there. He'll have to reappoint some new people, like Karina Gould's position, maybe her back to her position, most likely, as well as anyone else who's stepped down. But all the ones who stayed in there, Champagne, Melanie Joly, all throwing their support behind Mark Carney. Champagne hasn't yet. It's suspected he's going to support Carney, but we have Jonathan Wilkinson now supporting Carney. I mean, they're all going to be in their positions, but Carney can come in and reshuffle the cabinet. They don't want to rock the boat. They want to keep those high-paid positions. They're also picking which horse they think is going to win, but it seems all the big money is being pushed behind Carney. So she's brought in as the stalking horse to run against essentially Chrystia Freeland. So when they have debates, since Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney are essentially family, Mark Carney, the godfather to Chrystia Freeland's son, Carney's not going to drill her down with these hard questions. So they brought in Karina Gould so she can grill Chrystia Freeland and make her look bad, get in all those battles, and all that stank and all that funk doesn't get attached to Mark Carney. In this clip here, she announces she's officially running. She submitted the paperwork and 50 grand, and apparently she's already raised 100 grand.
I have just left the party office where I deposited my papers to be an official candidate in the upcoming leadership race. And thanks to the hundreds of volunteers who have raised their hands across this country, paid that initial deposit, and am officially a candidate for the upcoming Liberal leadership race. We have built a national organization, heard from people right across the country who tell me that they are rejoining the Liberal Party or joining the party for the first time.
Yeah, right. Who are you talking to? The dead?
Because they're excited about my candidacy. And what I hear over and over and over again is that what I offer is hope for the future. This is a grassroots, people-powered campaign, and I am so excited to have so many people across the...
That's offensive to grassroots. Just the word grassroots. You resemble nothing remotely related to grassroots. Listen to this load of crap up here. So the question was, why are so many of your cabinet colleagues not endorsing you? And they're basically endorsing Carney is what he said.
Oh, that's a great question for my cabinet colleagues. But what I can tell you is that the Liberal leadership is decided by the membership. And I have, full respect for my cabinet colleagues, for colleagues in...
It's because you're the stalking horse for Mark Carney. This is so obvious.
Caucus, and I, encourage them to endorse whoever they decide to. But let's recall that the leadership of the party is decided by the membership. And what I am hearing from the membership across the country is how excited they are by my candidacy.
Nobody is excited. Nobody in Burlington, nobody nowhere. Nobody's excited by this.
And the fact that so many people are raising their hands, making donations, asking to volunteer is phenomenal. And unlike some of the other candidates, I've only been organizing for 2 weeks.
The GST break that's on certain items in place right now.
The GST break is on certain items right now. Is that something you'll continue, or is that going to go away? I think is the question.
I would make permanent a GST cut on children's clothing, diapers, strollers, and car seats.
So basically everything related to the child you just had. Great. That's not very representative of Canadians as a whole. Like, why wouldn't you take it off of home heating, gasoline? Like, come on. This is such a pathetic joke. She's not a serious candidate. She's about as serious as Chandra Arya. With World Economic Forum 2025 going on, we've got a bunch of clips coming out like this one posted by Sid Fizzard. Says Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Ham recommends the global community should have some level of authority over natural resources. I'm sure the World Economic Forum would love that.
So the population keeps on doubling. In every human being that is added on to planet Earth, there's a stress to the Earth. How do we manage human impact on Earth and also allow trade to coexist, business and commerce? People need to eat, business needs to flourish, but it must be done in a sustainable manner. My recommendation to the world is we preserve the Earth in as much as possible in its natural state. God made planet Earth for humankind to manage in a sustainable manner. We cannot, by commerce and trade greed for commerce and trade and parochial personal sovereign interests, deplete the resource that is meant for the entire planet.
And let me guess, you guys created the World Economic Forum so you can take all of our money and control planet Earth and everyone? So he mentioned at the beginning there, every person that's born does damage to the Earth or whatever he said. We're in a state where almost in population decline here. It says the threat of declining working age populations. You can see here 2000s, 2010s, 2020. So we're sitting right here. So Korea has already taken a nosedive, and this is pretty evident. Same with Japan. I was going to say, yeah, it's on here. It's been declining for years. You can see Italy. We're represented here on the OECD, but look how many populations are set to decline. Problem is people like my age or people 10 years younger than me can't afford to have kids. I don't have kids. I can't afford to have kids, so I don't have kids. I'm a part of these statistics. Justin Trudeau is responsible for this in this country, but it's happening all over the world. We're having all these woke policies, bloated government, stupid bureaucracy, making life expensive for people, and then people can't have children. This one's interesting. It says large population decline expected in China and India. If we take a look at this graph, you got Nigeria is the only one that's basically climbing here. And so this basically starting from today right here, 2025, but you've got China and India. So China is basically set to drop off a cliff here soon. That is going to be devastating for them. India here is going to peak out by 2050 and then start diving off a cliff. And if we look at, we've got the blue here is the United States. They're basically staying kind of the same, slowly declining. All these other ones are actually going down more than that. Indonesia, DRC, Ethiopia, Pakistan. So what it comes down to, there's going to be massive population decline going on. And Elon Musk keeps warning everyone about this. Our civilization's going to collapse if we keep having people not have babies. It's too expensive here in Trudeau's Canada. But the World Economic Forum, they're always there to fearmonger. Climate Marxists. It's been real. You want a global war because this is how you're going to start a global war. We need to make sure these economic T-word people never set foot in our country. His Chinese overlords told him what to say. Next up, we got this story here on the CBC. We got a woman here from India who's not getting job offers, and she thinks it's because it's of her color.
Came to Canada in 2023 to pursue her master's in research policy and evaluation. She thought it would be easy to secure a job.
I have a lot of qualities and a lot of skill set, which I felt will be valued. But here I come and then I face these barriers.
During job interviews, Thakur was questioned about her age and told she was overqualified. She thinks the color of her skin halted her opportunities to get ahead.
But nobody is going to come up front and say that, oh, it's your color or it's your whatever. They just use certain fillers, overqualification, or you look like my mother.
And she's not alone. CBC News surveyed around 1,500 people who've arrived in Canada in the past decade about their experiences. Data shows 42% of racialized newcomers reported having a paying job in one or more areas of expertise, compared to 53% of white newcomers. Racialized newcomers were also less likely to feel they had opportunities for career growth. Thakor says she saw how the hiring system favored some of her white passing peers, some of whom were newcomers.
They were given the opportunity to be interviewed with almost every organization. They were able to get 3 or 4 job offers in hand. I was not even given the opportunity for 4 months.
There's a lot to break down there, and there's a lot of great comments in here. So first off, though, let's look at her 2 comments. They said, you're overqualified or you look like my mother. Now, I used to have a notary office with my ex-wife, and when we were looking to hire someone, depending on the position, you know, someone who's older, like someone who may be their mother, would be fine. In some instances, you don't want that. You want someone who's young, maybe right out of college, as young as possible, so you can train them with the hopes of having them stay there a long time. Because the more you train people, the more it costs. It's more time, more effort. Someone younger who will stay longer is better for the company. So that doesn't necessarily have to do with her color, where she's from. The same thing with overqualified. This actually happened to my ex-wife. She couldn't get a job because she was overqualified. People don't want someone who has so much experience they should be getting a better job, but they can't find one, because it means the second that better job comes, they're going to leave. And they don't want to train someone who's going to leave in 6 months or a year. She's taking it personal. She has a chip on her shoulder, which you'll see refers to a comment down here. This one, as a former employer, I steered away from people that had chips on their shoulders. Color and race had nothing to do with it. I needed harmony with qualifications in the workplace. If you have someone who has a chip on their shoulder in the workplace, if someone who is white gets a promotion, but they get it based off of merit, they worked hard, they've been there a while. If someone has a chip on their shoulder, they say, oh, they got that because they're white and not because this and that, I'm better. Like they, as this guy says, they don't want to bring in people who already come with that. It just brings chaos to the workplace. So it's something people really need to think about. A business generally won't hire someone that they believe to be overqualified because they think that it may be an interim job for them while they look for something they deem better. That's exactly what I was saying. Once they find it, they'll leave the business, which has likely spent considerable time and resources training the individual. Older white males face the biggest barriers at the moment in many aspects of society, especially with hiring practices. Doubtful that employees will be lining up to hire based on this interview. Well, there you have it. This clown show is continuing on every single day. The question is, when are they going to bring out the lions, the tigers, and the bears?